Hi everyone, this is Lori from happybirdsglitternest.blogspot.com, and today we're going to make a very cute little vintage shaker ornament. And it's not complicated at all. Believe me, I don't do complicated. So stay tuned and I'll show you exactly what you'll need to make this. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need are some 3-inch circle blanks. Okay, now I purchased my circle blanks from a shop on Etsy called Who's Your Blanks, and this is a woman-owned and family-owned shop right here in the USA. And what I love about this shop is everything they send is flawless. They cut their own wood pieces out of birch, and they don't have any kind of weird discoloration or anything like that. Everything is flawless. And you can buy one of these or you can buy them in bulk. So you might want to check out their shop. They have all kinds of wood blanks. So with that being said, I prepared these in advance, these little bases, and all I did was I gave it a couple of coats of white acrylic paint around the edges here. And instead of painting both sides, what I did was I took my 3-inch circle paper punch and I punched out some 3-inch circles from this Pen and Gear white glitter cardstock. You can purchase this at Walmart in the office supplies section, where all of the various computer paper and labels are and whatnot. Okay, and I use this all the time. It's shed free, of course. And you can also print on this with your inkjet printer if you want. And so I just glued on the front and the back with my Fabri-Tac, and I allowed this to dry. And I like making my bases in advance and having them ready because, to be honest with you, I think that's what takes up most of the time anyway when you're making ornaments, is doing the bases. So if you have them already prepared, then you're in. Okay, so the next thing you're going to need is you're going to need some 3-inch images. I bought a whole lot of cut-aparts from scrapbook.com well over a year ago. And some of them I used on the mini composition books that they have at Walmart and Dollar Tree. But I have a lot left, and so what I did was I went through different images and I cut them with my 3-inch circle punch. And although part of the image is cut off, not all of it is, and I think it still looks really cute. And I'll show you an example of that right here. I cut these images out for my ornaments. This little deer, and I love this one with this little bird. And if you hear thunder in the background, we're having severe storms right now in Texas. It's very dark out and the rain is pouring, so if you're wondering what that is. And I thought this little vintage girl was cute. This sweet little deer. I just love the little deer in ornaments. So with that said, what we're going to do with the images, and I think I'm going to start with this little bird image, is I'm going to take some of the diamond stickles. You can purchase this on Amazon. Just type in the word Ranger Stickles, because Ranger is the brand name, and then put diamond, and it should pop up for you. Okay. I'm going to make sure this is working correctly. Yeah, it is. Alright. Now I'm not going to cover this with glitter. I'm just going to highlight certain parts with the glitter, white parts, just enough to give it a little touch of sparkle. I'm not going to overload it. And by the way, when this dries, it does go completely flat, so if it's sticking up, don't worry about it. And maybe a little bit here. I'm not going to go crazy with it or anything like that. Maybe a little bit here on the, just on the roof of the gingerbread house. Right there. Maybe right up here. Maybe a little bit on top of the gingerbread house. The smaller one. I'm just kind of dabbing it. Like that. See, it's just enough to give it a little sparkle, but not go crazy. And I'm only doing this on the white part. Boy, that rain is blowing outside. I could see it. It's through my window. It's coming down in sheets. Okay. And you see how I'm just giving it a touch? Then I might do a little bit here on the roof. And when I'm making these ornaments, I don't bother with any of the colored stickles. I stick strictly to the iridescent colors like this, the white iridescent colors, because you know that will highlight. But if you start using other colored glitters on here, sometimes that can turn into a little bit of a mess. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. Might put a little on this door here. The main thing is knowing when to stop. Put a little bit right here under the windows. Okay, and I think at this point I'm going to stop. Okay. Now this is going to dry, and so give it some time. It does take quite a while to dry. It's not something you can just do and instantly start working on the ornament. So I'll give this a few hours to dry, and then I'll be back and we'll talk about the rest, okay? And in the meanwhile, I am using this glitter. This is a chunky glitter I love. I get it at Walmart, and it has different sizes glitter in here, different sizes of glitter, and it's called Snowy Surprise by Sulin. Okay, and I did have some of the large glitter in pink, and I love this glitter because it's not going to scratch up the ornament inside when we make the shaker. It's not going to scratch it up. It's very lightweight, and so that's what I'm using. Okay? Alright, so with that said, I'm going to allow the little ornament here to dry, and I'll be back. Okay, so I was going to go with a little bird image, but I decided to go with a little vintage girl instead. So I did put stickles, in iridescent stickles in little places here and there where it was white. Okay. I did allow this to dry thoroughly. I will tell you, if you decide to decorate with the glitter first, the image may buckle a little bit, but once it dries, it just starts to flatten out. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that. Now, if you go ahead and glue this image onto your wood piece with a Fabri-Tac and then use stickles, it won't do that. But I just wanted to let you know that so you wouldn't worry about it if you did see some buckling. Okay, So with that said, then what we're going to do is put a little bit of glitter right here. Now I'm not going to put much, maybe, maybe a half a teaspoon. Or maybe even closer to a teaspoon. Putting some of the pink like that. You don't want tons, but okay. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah. You don't want to overdo, but you don't want to underdo either. Alright. So, what did I do with the dome? Oh, here it is. Alright. So we have our little dome here. And what I like to do is I like to take a soft makeup brush, and I got this from the Dollar Tree a long time ago. And I'm just doing this just to take out any dust, okay, if there's any dust. So I like to do that first, alright? And then I like to take this same brush and kind of push the glitter into the middle and make sure that the paper part around the edges is clear of all glitter and anything else, because you're going to be gluing this on. Now, the majority of these little half balls or half domes, they come with they're already self-adhesive like this is, but I still like to put glue on it regardless. That's just me. Okay. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to use the tiniest amount of Fabri-Tac. And when I say the tiniest amount, I mean just barely dotting the glue on. You see that? Barely dotting it on. I guess I just want to make sure that this really does stick, you know. Okay, we're just going to go all the way around. Okay, just a tiny bit because we don't want it gushing out, you know. Now this part, for me, it's easier for me to stand because then I can look at this straight on, make sure I'm getting it even. Okay. Yeah. Alright, and so we're not going to pick this up because we don't want the glitter to fall. And if there is anything that's slightly sticky, then you don't want it to be glued, right? So we're going to leave it just like this, flat, until it's thoroughly dry. And then we'll come back and we'll put on the trim. And I'll show you what I did there, okay? Okay, so for the next part of the video, I'm using this metallic wire cord, and I purchased this at Hobby Lobby. I paid half of this price because right now all the ribbons and trims are half off. And it's a metallic silver. You'll find this in the same aisle as the wide Christmas ribbon is. You know, the wide wired Christmas ribbon? Well, they usually have several boxes of smaller trims, and so that's where I picked this up, okay? Now they also have this in gold, but it's more like an antique gold, okay? And then of course they have the red, white, and green ribbon that I showed you. It's a little different than this. It's a little bit thicker, but that's another option that you could use, okay? Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because my little half dome or half ball measured 2 inches, 2 7/8 of an inch, and I'm using 3-inch circles. And that's why it's super important when you buy these little half domes on Amazon that you really pay attention to the size, okay? Because I have to make up for it now. You can see along the edge here we have a little bit of space right here, okay? So that's why I needed something narrow to glue on around there, okay? And we're not gluing it on top of the plastic. I'm gluing it around the plastic right here on this little edge. Now if you purchase the 3-inch half domes or half balls, they should be 3-inch. They should come all the way out here, so you shouldn't have that issue. But that's how I'm dealing with this. So I'm going to take my Fabri-Tac and I'm going to let it drain all the way down here to the tip. Okay. I'm not really squeezing so much. Well, maybe slightly, but I'm dotting it more than anything else. Right here on the paper itself around the edge. You don't need a ton. It's very narrow ribbon, so it will hold very well. Okay, I'm going to go all the way around. Okay. I'm going to take this, I'm going to start here at the top of the ornament because the little embellishment that we put here, it will cover up where the cord begins and ends. Okay, so I'm just laying this down all the way around, and you can see I have a little extra at the top. So I'm just going to be careful where I cut. And then, there we go. Okay? So now it looks really nice, and you can't tell that the shaker dome was actually a little too small. So I'm just going to allow this to dry. Shouldn't take all that long before I can pick it up and handle it. And then on the wooden part itself, around the edge, we're going to be gluing on these little 4mm pearls from Hobby Lobby. I did not pay this amount. I paid half that amount. Every other week they have their trims on sale. So, and of course, as you can see, it's almost empty. Okay, so we'll be back. Okay, so this is dried. So now we're going to place our little 4mm pearl chain on the edge of the wood itself. Start at the very top because you want to end at the very top. That way you can easily cover it with an embellishment where the trim, begins and ends. Alright, so I'm going to start about here, roughly. So I'm going to take some Fabri-Tac, and I'm not going to go crazy with it. I'm just going to put a little bit all the way around. Be careful not to touch the dome with your fingers when you're doing this, because you don't want any glue on that dome. Ask me how I know. I'm going to pull that back and then just continue going around. We'll pull it back a little bit and then just continue on. And we are almost at the end. Okay. I'm going to lay it down, straighten it up a little, and then I'm going to slide it off the edge of my desk just to pick it up, take a little look at it. Okay, now you see the top, there's a slight separation there. There's not enough to fit another pearl. That will be absolutely fine because that will be covered up completely. But that's also where you want to place your little glue-on bail. You can find these at Hobby Lobby. For a long time they didn't have them or didn't carry them anymore, but then I noticed they came back in. So I don't know if people complained or what, but you can find these in packages of 6, I believe now. And I'm just going to take, you can use Fabri-Tac on this. I've done that, and it actually works very well, but for this particular ornament I'm going to put some E6000, just a dot, just fill that little circle in the middle and don't go over that, and you should be fine. And then I'm going to place it right here between those 2 slightly separated pearls. Okay, so I'm going to do that and then allow this to dry completely before we go on to the last steps, and you'll see how pretty it turns out. Okay, so before we put the little bow up here, we're going to make a little S-hook. And what you'll need is you'll need some artistic wire. Okay, so before we put the little embellishment on, we're going to make a little S-hook to hang this. And you're going to need the 20 gauge artistic wire. Okay, you can find artistic wire at Hobby Lobby. Just make sure it's at least 20 gauge. If they don't have 20 gauge, then get 18 gauge. Okay, so I'm just taking this piece of dowel rod here, and if you're wanting to know the thickness of it, it's 9 millimeters. So I think if you get a dowel rod anywhere between 9 millimeters or 10 millimeters, it would be great for this project. So I'm just going to hold this down and bend this. Okay, so we have a little hook, right? Oh, and by the way, I cut 3 inches of wire. Okay, so now we're going to hold this like that, and then bend this up the opposite direction. Okay, So you have what looks like this. And just going to bend that back, slip this through, make sure it's closed like that, and then you have a beautiful little S hook. Okay, so for the top embellishment here, I made a little bow out of 10 inches of this little flexi lace hem tape, and it's kind of a pale pink, like a baby pink. Alright, I've had this for a while. And so here's a little bow. Then I took my 1-inch snowflake punch and I punched out a snowflake out of the silver Silly Winks craft foam. And then I used a large flatback gemstone. And I purchased the flatback gemstones from Walmart. They have them in 3 different sizes in the packages, and they're hanging up where all of the rolls of trim and lace are. Right above that, they have ribbon roses and all these little embellishments, and they have packages of these little rhinestones, and I really think they shine. I just love them. Okay, so I'm going to take some Fabri-Tac and put it on the back and then glue this up high like this, okay, because I want her face to show, and that's one of the reasons why I used the lace. And I'll show you in just a minute my prototype ornament and the mistakes I made on that so you won't make them, okay? So let's go ahead and glue this on. And I'm going to glue this up high so you can still see her little face peeking out of there. I think it turned out really cute. Tap this down. You got the little... Don't want to shake it too much, as this has to dry. But once this dries completely, then I'll come back and show you. Okay? So now for the prototype. That was underneath it, the cap to my glue, and I didn't even know it. Good grief. Okay. So one of the images I cut out was a little deer. Alright? This is my prototype. Now with the little deer, I didn't really stop and think before I punched it out with my 3-inch hole punch that the glitter would be covering up part of the little deer. So I should have moved my circle punch down a little bit lower so a little more of the deer would be showing. Okay? That was my first error. My second error was I used one of these bows that I've purchased from Temu. I've showed them to you several times. They're in the packages of gold and silver. Well, because this was a solid color, it covered up a lot of the images, whereas this is more, well, this is a lace, and so you see a lot more, if that makes sense. Okay. I think another mistake I made was using the 1.5-inch snowflakes. I think it kind of overwhelmed the ornament between the bow and this. Whereas I used the 1-inch snowflake punch on this. Okay? And let's see, what else? I think that was about it. Yeah, I think that was about it. So, if you can see anywhere else I messed up, be sure and tell me. So, this will go in my so sorry pile of crafts. And then I'll be making more ornaments to look like this. So you live and you learn, right? Okay. But I think it's just perfect, and I didn't overload it with the glitter. So I think it turned out really nice. So with that said, I hope you really enjoyed this video. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a very merry and blessed Christmas. Take care, and God bless you. Bye-bye.